Hello, this is Nick Mulligan, back again for more Dark Souls. So I ended up fixing a bit of a bug that was going on earlier with Frampt. So now we can actually talk to him. I had to leave the game a couple of times. So it's kind of a pain in the ass, but all good now. Still in post recording at this moment.
Hello. Was it you who rang the bell of awakening?
Yes, it
I
was.
am the primordial servant, King Seeker Frapt, close friend of the great Lord Gwyn, chosen undead, who has rung the bell of awakening. I wish to elucidate your fate. Do you seek such enlightenment?
Sure, I don't see why not.
Very well. Then I am pleased to share, chosen undead. Your fate is to succeed the great Lord Gwyn, so that you may link the fire, cast away the dark, and undo the curse of the undead. To this end, you must visit Anor Londo and acquire the Lord Vessel.
So you want me to go after the Lord Vessel?
You will. Is it something urgent?
Actually, interesting thing. Oh, I think I'm about to talk to him here in a second. But the Lord Vessel is basically what we're gonna fit all the vessels, the different lords that we saw in that opening cutscene into. Because yes, we're gonna have to kill literally all of them, including Gwyn, at some point. Without exception. And then huck ourselves into that fire because, that's what we do to keep this horrible Age of Fire going. I'm probably going to do the Age of Fire ending in the first two games, and with the third ending it off with the Dark Lord ending, just to keep up with the sake that our great Dinkelteen here is canonically going through the entire franchise.
Many have gone before you, but none have returned. Fate has chosen you.
So yeah, Sen's Fortress, place we're going to be going to soon. Kind of a death trap, kind of awful, kind of very awful.
Farewell.
Awful actually is a bit of an understatement. Let me just go the megabit shithole that is that place that could literally kill the most hardened player of this game if you're not wholly prepared for it, because, traps are awful and gonna insta-kill you. That's like half of that level. The other half is snake people, but we'll get to that when we get to that area. For today, however, we are going to be going into the garden and or the Darkroot Gardens, and going to go fight the Moonlight Butterfly because, we're going to kill that little experiment Seath the Skelos made, because that's a thing. He basically, just to give a little back lore on that little bit of stuff, he basically used that as a bit of his dumping ground for a lot of the experiments he was doing when it came to a lot of his crystal magic, which he essentially did to try to, I don't know, well, he was scaleless, hated all the other dragons, as the other dragons effectively just made fun of him for it. And that's why he joined Gwyn in literally committing genocide on all of them, because he was that petty. And at that point, he kept using crystal magic to basically artificially make himself, I guess you could say, draconic scales, and was very much successful in that. However, he had a lot of experiments that he considered quote-unquote failures and just kind of threw them out. I think the Hydra is one of those experiments as well that we're going to be fighting here soon. I know the crystal the crystal dudes that we're going to be fighting as well are definitely part of his experiments, as well as the Moonlight Butterfly, which we encounter a bunch of later in the game. But all of those are very passive. This one, however, not so passive. In fact, it really tries to kill us, and we only get a few opportunities to attack it. That being said, it is one of the easiest bosses in the game and is not really a challenge at all. I probably could have honestly done this right after the gargoyles, but I just decided not to. Half the time I do, but I just decided not to this time. And sorry for talking with a bit over Andre there, but as you can see, he was talking about hinting at the Divine Ember, which is actually going to be past the Moonlight Butterfly. We also have to deal with our demon friend here. Oh god, I actually remember we fought a few of these in the D&D game, and they ignore your shields, or how the DM roll it, because there's actually, this guy does some attacks that, like, say that attack right there, will just straight up, like, if you're in it, well, your shield doesn't work. I can only assume that's because it's an overhead attack, and, with those overhead attacks, it's not technically hitting your shield, it's hitting your head. So it just kind of completely ignores that. And if you're someone who uses a shield or any kind of defense in that D&D game, it just kind of had a piercing effect where it would go through your armor. Kind of awful, but also fun to fight. I also believe these guys are resistant to lightning in some way. That being said, if I had a Black Knight weapon, this guy would be a joke. Well, more of a joke than he already is. He already is kind of a joke if you know how to deal with him. As you can see there, I didn't even really get hit at all that entire fight. Technically a mini-boss, I guess you could say, but not really that impressive of one, if I'm being quite honest. And we'll also face a fair amount more of them later on in the game as time goes on. There's actually going to be a few of them in Sin's Fortress. And I've already discussed the whole thing with Easelith and how that caused the demons into existence. So you already know how these boys are running around to an extent. Now we're seeing these plant folk. I can only assume that the reason these plant beings are all around here probably has something to do with the magic of the butterfly. I think it to a certain extent it emanates druidic magic or some kind of arcane magic and has probably brought some of the plant life to life. The other running theory I think I'd have in that regard might be in regards to the DLC, because this is the area where you go off the DLC, and the one lady whose name is escaping me right now, but it has the Crown of Dusk. You find her items here and everything, and I think in the aftermath, these also might be the weird plant people that were actually using farming tools and all that you face in the DLC later on. We'll get to those later, and now you get to see as I completely missed that crystal lizard, and it disappears. Don't worry, I'll probably come back for it later. That being said, I was an idiot for not two-handing and just slashing up and down on that damn thing. And this is also me trying to figure out that item over there was actually, well, there was an item up here. I think it was just a soul or something. Nope, it was the leather gear and a longbow. Yeah, as you can see, the ranger kind of died here. As I said before, all the classes, I think it was the ranger. I don't remember the class name. It might have been the thief. No, the thief was wearing the black leather, I believe. And, so you find the corpses of all these, like, pilgrims that came here before you that were the starting classes and where they died. Some made it further than others, some not so much. And here you get to see me beat the ever-living shit out of a Black Knight after being a lot more powerful than the last time we fought them. Not much of a challenge, as you can see. Unfortunately, though, we do not get that sweet, sweet halberd or that shield. That being said, we will do fine with the claymore. Also, probably should start using my pyromancies more, but honestly, until you get like the higher level pyromancies, especially at this point, they're not all that useful. Unless you're like fighting some lower tier enemies. I mean, if something's weak to fire, it's still really good, but like, other than that, it's not the best. Now, it probably would be pretty useful against the plant people, but honestly, I'm already like two-shotting them with the sword, so it's like not really that much of a big deal, I guess, in that regard. I think I'm just going to be traveling down here for a little while, so, you know what, while we're doing this, bit of a topic for the D&D stuff, but yeah, we fought quite a bit of things, in that game. Especially a lot of things from, Dark Souls 1. I believe I'm pretty sure we fought, we've definitely fought an equivalent to the Asylum Demon at one point, and I believe he literally squashed our cleric at one point with his giant ass. And I don't mean, like, jokingly, no, I mean he literally sat on our cleric. Like, face full, like literally, like, they were comically, like, imprinted on the ground sort of deal. Like, through the rocks. It was kind of hilarious, but also kind of not, because it was an awful situation. That being said, we did kill it fairly handily after our cleric got squished down by it. And from that point on, it was kind of a laughable fight. But, you know, you live, you learn. We also fought a few of these crystal boyos at one point. Nasty thing about them is you probably remember how I said the demon there like kind of ignores a bit of your AC. These guys just ignore it entirely. Essentially, well, they don't really ignore it entirely. The thing is like say you no. Oh wait, no, I'm trying to remember what the actual mechanic was. Oh yeah, because they do crystal damage, and how you ran crystal damage was interesting. Basically, any dice a weapon would normally have would be tripled, but the weapons were normally very brittle. But because these things are made of crystal, that didn't really matter. So they were just doing like they were already really fucking strong creatures punching with a lot of force. But when they hit you, they were also doing 3 times more damage than say a creature that would normally be that size, like something comparable, like say a Cyclops, I guess you could say, or a Minotaur. And it was kind of awful, not gonna lie. But, you know, we lived. Mostly. You also see here, Hydra, another annoying one. You'll see that this one's gonna do something very annoying here in a bit. Not in the way of difficulty, but in the way of being in a Mexican standoff for quite some time with not much going on, because, you know, that's always fun. Yep, just stabbing its heads off. Kind of a slow process, if I'm being honest. This fight's kind of... It's an interesting fight, and I like it, but at the same time, it is very slow. I think my favorite Hydra fight had to be from Dragon's Dogma. Well, that... Good-ass game if you've never played that. I might actually do something for it on the channel, not sure yet. Actually, yeah, definitely gonna do something for that game on the channel. It's too good not to. And, wow, I completely whiffed that one. Yeah, fought these things. What's funny is we fought the Moonlight Butterfly too in our D&D game, and that fight was pretty damn easy. Actually, really damn easy. I think the only factor was that none of the melee fighters could really get up to it. Me, but you know, being a fucking monk paladin with an insane dexterity, I sort of like, I don't know, like acrobatics my way on. Like up to its heads and just started like punching it in the eyes, while the other monk was essentially doing the same thing but with a sword. While the other monk was was essentially standing there being a tank, and the wizard was well, the wizard was well, the wizard doing what the wizard does: firebolt, 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 over and over again. And any other big fire spell that they had, because, you know... Oh yeah, this is where it does the derpy thing. Well, actually, no, we have the one head left. Okay, now here's where it does the derpy thing. Yeah, this goes on for a while. Quite some time. So this... It's kind of annoying. I find it incredibly obnoxious. This thing is literally hitting right outside the area you can get it to, and we're literally both accomplishing nothing in the most awkward Mexican standoff I think I've ever been in. So, I literally just start throwing daggers at it at some point. I'm not sure when. We'll see here in a minute. It's not really effective, so I literally had to run back and go grab a crossbow. And even then, it still took forever to kill this thing with that crossbow. I'm just trying to... I think I was just trying to gauge like how far I could go out here. And it's a bit hard to see where you can go out in the water without actually falling to your death. And I didn't want to have to redo the fight and go through all those ads again just to get up to him, because it's kind of really annoying to do so. Oh my god. Yep, this is where I pull out the daggers. I think I was making sure that he wasn't going to actually hit me there. Oh, God. What's funny, the first death we actually had in the Dark Souls D&D game was like the dumbest one I think I ever saw. It was like in, if anyone's ever played 3 in that area with all the crucifix guys in the swamps, They are, like, we were, like, on that little bridge going across it where all these crucifix guys were around that bonfire, and then one of our players had the bright fucking idea to literally go, I'ma dive down here and try to fight everything. So they dive down, stab one of them, they get murder fucked by everything else. While the rest of the party just kind of has to watch. And then they immediately get resurrect, walk back to right where we are, and are like, "Sup, guys?" Because, you know, that whole undead concept we got going on. God, I really messed around for a while here trying to stab him, didn't I? Yeah, I remember. I was, like, constantly just trying to, like, see if I could thwack him with to no avail. What's funny is, off camera, I tried using one of the pyromancies, but because you can't lock onto the head, it's really hard to aim, so I was kind of accomplishing nothing. And the pyromancies don't have enough range to reach all the way out to where his body is. Unfortunate, but it's what happens. I completely whiffed that. Come on, Lord Dinkelteen, you can do it. No, you can't. You can't reach out there. You're too slow. Dark Souls clunkiness at its finest. Literally threw that dagger. Okay, there's 2 daggers in the water. How many daggers can I fuck up throwing? Let's find out. That's 3. Do I hear 4? Oh no, that one hit. That one did it. And I heard 4. That's another hit. As you can see, it's not accomplishing much. It did like 15 points of damage, which is jack shit. Oh, there's no one thrown. Hit. Got 2 more. Yeet. No, that one missed. That one also missed. So at this point I was just like, okay, fine, go back to melee, like the idiot I was. Instead of just running back to go get crossbow ammo. I think we're about to come into the cut soon where I come back with the crossbow. Yeah, definitely coming up to that clip. This is actually kind of funny. So as you can see, still not doing much damage to the thing, even with that crossbow. I think I had to sit here for like 12 minutes just to kill the damn thing with this crossbow. It was just me holding the R1 button while standing in that one spot, and as you can see, it is finally dead. With the Dust Crown Ring, which was an item, actually, on a bit more of the topic of the lore, was an item from... it's actually from the DLC with the one lady I was talking about with the Dusk Crown. Princess Dusk of Arcel, upon her birth, was granted to her. The ringstone allows its wearer to cast additional magic, but at the cost of 1/2 of HP. Yeah, it's shaped like her crown. But, this tells me that she probably got ate by that Hydra at some point, and that's probably, like, the only thing left was her ring, which you, I guess, find inside of the Hydra's stomach or something. I think you would have pooped that thing out by now, but I guess not. I don't think the Hydra's undead, at least when comparing it to the other undead, like dragons, it definitely does not look undead like they do. And at this point, we're actually going to go deal with the boss. Well, before then, we actually have to go to the offshoot, collect an item, and do all that little schnaz and goodness, but... What's funny is I'm pretty sure back when we were playing the D&D game, and we were going through this forest area, we were basically going all Tarzan, like going from the trees and shit, becoming basically ambush predators going through this whole thing. I actually recall that happening a lot. It was just like, you see all the monks monking around, and then you see like the wizard just kind of casually walking like a good bit of a distance behind us, like the fucking scrub lord he was. Say that, but he could literally kill all of us with an AoE spell. But, well, actually, all of his shit was like dexterity-based saving throws, and we all had evasion, so maybe not. But at the same time, he probably could still fuck us up given enough preparation. Case in point, our wizard was very powerful. Devlon Rise was not a man to be fucked with. Hell, I'd probably put him on the level of Azelith herself. Oh yeah. Case in point. By the way, need the Crest of Artorias from Andre to get through that little door, and there was actually a shortcut where the Hydra was to get past it anyway. A lot of people don't know the secret that this bonfire is here. At least anyone who's played the game a lot knows, but like, I can't count how many times I've had friends that have actually done multiple playthroughs of this game and not even known that this bonfire existed. And it's always hilarious seeing their reaction whenever they finally discover that fact when I show them, and they're like, they're always just like, I've done 3 playthroughs or whatever of this game, and I still didn't know this was here. And to be fair, it's kind of well hidden. That being said, if you have player signs on, they probably should have left you a hint there, but I guess... Well, to be fair, I guess after a while, you stop kind of paying attention entirely to the signs, because half of them end up being next to a cliff and say, free loot ahead, just because some asshole somewhere decided, ha, I'm gonna put a sign down here and watch people jump to their death because they think there's loot down here. Because, you know, the Dark Souls community is full of a lot of douchebags. But I feel that's the case for a lot of communities. That's why I tend to avoid the PvP community of this game. It is very toxic in every regard. That being said, PvP can also be fun, as long as you're not getting the Smurfs. Oh, I hate Smurfs. Smurfs are like... If you don't know what a Smurf is, it's basically like when like a really high level player invades into a really low level character's world and just annihilates them because they have like 150 levels on them and in-game equipment that's been fully upgraded. So, I see people do that all the time, and it's a really dick move. That's why I really think they need more balancing when it comes to the PvP, but you also gotta take into regard a lot of people also modify their files, even on console, to like make themselves broken at early level. Like just cheating in max stats, just so they can basically murder the hell out of people in PvP. I don't get what this kind of satisfaction someone can actually get out of that, because at that point it's literally just an unfair game, and you're just kind of doing that. I don't know if the satisfaction is literally just to be an asshole. I mean, I guess there's some catharsis in that, but I know there's definitely not any catharsis on the person's other end. It's just kind of a dick move to them, and I honestly look at it from even the middleman's perspective, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of a dick move. That's why I don't do shit like that. It's why I only, like, whenever I invade, I always want to do a duel and not actually just start ganking. Hell, even like having a friend summon doing co-op or something in these games, like I always like if we get invaded by someone, we usually just try to duel the person at first, unless they're being a complete cucklord about it. Which, if they decide to be a complete cucklord about it, then, you know, all's fair in love and war. But until then, honorable duel shall be had. And I prefer it that way because it's actually fun and not just... Oh, something I also hate, and like, I understand why people do it, and I don't... Like, I personally don't like it, but, like, I know why people do it, where, like, someone will invade you and then will just, like, start hiding behind enemies so that they attack you, and then they'll try to fuck you while you're fighting the enemies. I hate that. At the same time, I get why people do it, but at the same time, I'm like, man, if I want a PvP, I don't want to just be chasing you around a bunch of enemies because you're too bad at the game to actually fight me. Like, no, at that point, I just, like, I mean, granted, they have items for this, like the the Seed of a Fallen Giant in both 2 and 3 you can use to basically, if someone invades you and they start doing that, you can proc it to where enemies will start attacking them too. So yeah, they'll go to hide behind that big mini-boss and all of a sudden get fucked by that guy's giant halberd or whatever the hell they're using. It's always fun doing that, because no one ever expects you to actually use it, because you will rarely have someone that you're invading actually use one of those items, mostly because people kind of don't really pick them up. I don't know why. I always try to get as many of them as I can, so I'm always prepared if I'm actually playing online, because it's a very invaluable item to use. That being said, we did get the Wolf's Ring right there. like a bit earlier. That was actually a artifact from Artorias. It was the ring, one of the rings he wore. And it gives you a hint that this area has a lot to do with Artorias and Sif, who will fight later in this area, but that'll be for later in the game. His grave is here, and this is like the area where he primarily resided in. And a lot of that lore I could start to speak about now, but I kind of want to save that for when we get to the DLC, because the DLC has a lot to do with his backstory, and I mean a lot. There are a few items here, like past these, well, these 4 plant guys and these 2, like, stone golems. There's the Elite Knight set, which the description of basically reads that it was of the same order of the guy that busted this out of the asylum. It actually almost describes it as actually just being his armor, but I honestly don't think that's the case, and I think that just might be a translation thing. I think it's just one of his order that also went with him on this pilgrimage and decided to go out to the Kingdom of Lordran himself and just, you know, wound up dead out here. I mean, can't hardly blame him. I mean, that's kind of hard to avoid in this world. I mean, we're kind of surrounded by it. Things are constantly trying to kill you. Everything's undead or becoming undead. Or you make them into undead by killing them. There's really not a middle ground when it comes to that. It's like death, 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 dying, death. Plant guy. Yeah, I was trying to bait him out here away from the stone golem because, like... Yeah, and then that still happened. Still got stabbed in the face. Granted, I'm still alive, so all's good. Yep, does that downward swing. And then he basically lets me kill him by using that. Not the smartest tool in the shed. Also have these snakes over here. They're actually poisonous, so be careful. You also get ambushed by another plant guy as you go in here. Yeah, I think I just popped open the thing to read the description on that weapon we just picked up. It's nothing interesting, it's just another polearm. It's another spear. Spears, I did a spear build once. I don't find spears particularly good in this game. I mean, the one useful thing about them is that you can block and stab at the same time. But if I'm being quite honest, outside of PvP, that's not all too useful. And even then, in a lot of cases in PvP, it kind of hinders you heavily because people will just try to circle strafe you and just backstab the hell out of you. Granted, if you can keep them pretty, if you know what you're doing, you can keep them pretty easily from doing that. What I usually do in PvP, actually, is I just parry the fuck out of people in this game. Because it's super easy to do. And the hilarious thing is they never expect just the normal low-level guy to be able to parry them. It's kind of hilarious. And this is where I was, like, reading the description of that item. So, as you can clearly see, our friend was a Knight of Astora. I've talked a bit about Astora before. But, yeah, that gives you a bit of an inkling that Astora is one of the kingdoms that are still running around and still, I guess, alive in some aspects, far away from the Kingdom of Lordran. It's also something I always think about. We really don't know what the state of the world is outside of, Lordran. Like, supposedly there are still kingdoms around, but we don't know how well they're around, if they're in I mean, they're probably in disarray from, you know, the fire and everything, but, you know, are they still organized kingdoms? Do they still have, like, many citizens, armies, things like that? We just simply don't know. And here, we summon the witch, because, honestly, I think I just summoned her for shits and giggles, because this fight's really easy. I think she does a fair amount of damage in the fight, but I still end up doing most of the damage. And at this point, I'm switching over to the Crest Shield, because it is the better shield, well, the best shield we have currently, when it comes to magical defense. Which you're gonna kind of need for this fight. Yeah, if you can try to get the Crest Shield before you come to the Moonlight Butterfly fight, or at least a shield with at least 80 like magic protection, because that's all you're going to be dealing with in this fight, and you want to be able to block that because it's kind of hard to dodge. Or certain ones, their attacks are kind of hard to dodge. And even then, it's still better to keep a shield up in case it, like, some of them hit you. Like that spell right there, you can kind of strafe. And it's fairly easy to do it in that regard, but that spell is the one that can be hard to dodge. Because it's just that spray, and it can just mess your day up. But as you can see, Beatrice is doing a fair amount of damage to this Moonlight Butterfly. And by a fair amount, I mean quite a bit. Yeah, this boss is like very squish. Like if we're talking D&D terms, this is definitely a squishy in boss form. I'm not even sure why it comes down the perch. I'm guessing it's resting, but like, and it gives a chance for melee fighters to get in some damage, but it really kind of just gets wrecked when it does that. And at this point, we're going up to collect the items that are up here. There are a few useful. There's like a key, the Divine Ember, and I believe, yeah, they give you a homeward bone, so you can just bone back if you feel like it. Didn't really use it, I just walked back, but I did that off camera though. Something interesting to know about the Divine Ember, and I think I pull it up right here in the items, is it was basically, these things were held by the church, which no divine blacksmiths and all that. But the church basically kept a tight lock on them and kind of only let their own like smiths use them and not really anyone else. I guess they had a whole thing with only the righteous can fight the undead and blah 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 blah, Age of Fire, blah 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 blah. And then, you know, they all kind of died anyway because they're fucking idiots. But that's kind of a tale of Dark Souls in a nutshell. Idiots trying to save a dying world that really is beyond saving, but you know, that's always been the case. Anyway, I think I'm going to end it here. So, this has been McMulligan. Hope you have a great day, and take care.